Now to the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, where the African Union's 38th summit is underway. Today's proceedings include the election of commissioners, for whom South Africa has put forward two candidates. Newzroom Afrika senior political reporter Ziyanda Ngcobo joins us live from there now. Ziyanda, good morning to you. What's on the agenda today?
Well, Stephen, as you've just mentioned, there are going to be commissioners, 6 commissioners who are going to be elected. South Africa has put forward the names of 2 people, Lerato Mataboge and Dr. Ngcobo, for the various positions of education, science and innovation, as well as infrastructure and energy. And the man who is sitting in on those elections is our very own International Relations Minister, Ronald, Lamola, who's here in Addis Ababa. We're at the headquarters of the AU. Let's start off, Minister, by talking about the importance of having 2 South African commissioners nominated and possibly elected.
Thank you to the viewers at home. Indeed, South Africa participates in the various organizations and committees of the AU, including to field candidates, as you have already mentioned. And we are looking forward to the process of elections because it's important for our countrymen who have got the skill that is required to help drive an agenda. As you are aware, infrastructure, we are the champion on infrastructure, and also on education is a key platform to develop the continent, to get the new and the young kids to have skills that are relevant to the changing economic environment.
Minister, another thing on the agenda today is the election of 5 out of the 15 members of the Peace and Security Council. South Africa is also vying for a position there. And why it's important, I think, for the viewer back home is because, 70% of the world's conflicts come from the African continent, but South Africa has been in the news by and large for many reasons. If it's not Donald Trump, it's the conflict in, the Eastern DRC. How important or how influential is South Africa in terms of being able to get onto this Peace and Security Council?
Yeah, it is also an important platform that deals with the resolution of security and the conflict in the continent, almost equivalent to the UN Security Council, and also has got an important role that it plays in the UN Security Council in terms of making input into the positions of the UN Security Council with regards to the security situation in the continent. So as South Africa, we think it's important that we also participate in that platform because, as you have already said, we are already participating and making an input in silencing the guns in the continent in line with Agenda 2063 of the AU in the various parts of the continent. As we speak, we're in South Sudan, helping with the rebuilding and transitioning them into elections, as you have said, in the Eastern DRC and also in the northern part of Mozambique. And there are also many other missions that we are involved in. So we understand that silencing the guns is important for economic stability, for social stability, and also for regional integration in the continent. And South Africa has got a key role to play in that platform and also encouraging dialogue as a form of resolving conflicts.
And I suppose the much bigger, implication here as we try and get nominated into these various positions is, of course, our very own hosting of the G20 Heads of State Summit in November, but our G20 presidency, because of the president saying, our president is saying that Africa's agenda will be a key to our G20 presidency. So, in essence, Minister, what I'm trying to get from you here is how much support are we getting from the regions on the continent, the East, the West, the North, the South, and the Mid, given just how much conflict there is and the lack of confidence in our multilateral systems in general?
Yeah, as you have already heard, the speakers, the hosts in particular, have thanked us for putting Africa on the agenda of the G20, the issues of climate change, the issues of the reform of the global financial architecture, to be able to be biased towards the African continent, the issues of critical minerals that this phase should lead to a value add. And tomorrow I will be given a platform to brief the Executive Council on our agenda. As you are aware, we will be hosting the meeting of foreign ministers next week in Johannesburg, and also the meeting of finance and governors and ministers of finance that will be in Cape Town. So I will have an opportunity to brief this and for the AU to have its input to also influence as they come. As we are aware, they are members of the G20 themselves. But we have also extended our invitation to Nigeria, to Algeria, and also to Egypt to help amplify that voice.
A lot of layers to this, Minister. Very briefly, how is this not just another talk shop? Whether you're talking this summit, the various meetings that you'll be having in general?
Yeah, the outcomes of the summit and this meeting influence domestic legislations, policies, and it does give a roadmap of what should be done and what are the issues of priorities. As we have heard, the theme also speak to the people in the diaspora. Again, South Africa is called upon with Ghana to lead that initiative, to also look into the skills of our African brothers and sisters who are in the diaspora, who wants to contribute to their skills, with their financial muscles that they've gained in whatever country they are in, either in Europe, in the Americas, and all over the globe. So it is indeed an impactful platform that will impact the life of the people of the African continent.
All right, that's our International Relations Minister, Ronald Lamola. And of course, the theme for this 38th AU Summit is going to be about reparatory justice and as well as racial healing. And that's why he's mentioning South Africa leading a role in that regard. I wonder then, with the fallout over Donald Trump's comments, whether or not we are still viewed on the continent and the rest of the world as being the champions of dealing with racial injustice. But certainly, Stephen Curtis, insofar as what's happening here today, South Africa really pushing to get back onto that Peace and Security Council, which is influential in dealing with the conflicts on the continent. And I wonder then whether, how we've dealt with the issues in the Eastern DRC and Cabo Delgado in Mozambique, and as well as Sudan, whether or not we still have the confidence of our other African counterparts.